Alright, chuck your thongs in the passenger footwell, because today we're not talking about road signs or speed limits. No mate, today we're diving headfirst into the sacred, often baffling, but absolutely essential unwritten rules of the great Aussie road trip. Forget your GPS, because these are navigational points your sat-nav will never tell you. Break these at your own risk, because the only thing longer than the Stuart Highway is a silent judgment from your fellow travellers. The Aussie Road Trip, a delicate ecosystem governed by a complex web of unspoken laws. Fail to follow these and you'll find yourself excelled into the back seat with a lukewarm Esky and the responsibility of swatting flies. So listen up, city slickers, this is your survival guide. You're cruising through the Outback, the UHF radio crackling with tales of rogue road trains and sightings of the elusive Big Banana. Another vehicle approaches in the opposite direction. What do? Slam on the brakes and demand their Vegemite rations. Nah mate, you initiate the road wave. This isn't the frantic waving of a lost tourist. This is the subtle acknowledgement, a silent "G'day, hope your journey's less plagued by dead kangaroos than mine." Failed to execute this simple gesture is seen as peak city arrogance. You might as well be wearing socks with sandals. No Aussie road trip is complete without the pilgrimage to at least 3 different Servo bakeries. But be warned, there's a strict hierarchy when it comes to the humble sausage roll. Never, and I repeat, never express enthusiasm for the bottom tier sausage roll in front of someone who just scored a top tier masterpiece. It's social suicide. And always offer a bite of a truly exceptional find. It's the Aussie way. You're on a long stretch, fuel gauge flirting dangerously with empty. In the distance, a shimmering oasis appears, a roadhouse, but you're not alone. Every other vehicle on this desolate stretch of bitumen has the same idea. What ensues is a silent, high-stakes race. No one actually acknowledges the race. There are no checker flags, but the satisfaction of pulling up to the pump just before that souped-up ute is a victory sweeter than the freshly brewed Servo coffee. And that's saying something. The Australian Outback. Majestic landscapes, stunning vistas, and approximately 1 billion persistent flies per square kilometre. Your car inevitably will become a temporary haven for these winged bandits. There are no official rules for fly management, but here are the unspoken guidelines. Initial denial, pretend they're not there. Passive aggression, open a window slyly hoping they'll take the hint. Full scale war, the frantic swatting on the window down, high speed manoeuvres. Acceptance, resign yourself to the fate and learn to breathe through your teeth. The Esky, the heart and soul of any Aussie road trip, but its contents are not to be trifled with. There are strict, unwritten rules regarding access and consumption. Rule number 1, the Esky custodian, usually the driver, or the one with the biggest arms, has the final say on who gets what. Rule number 2, always offer a cold one to your mates before cracking one yourself. Rule number 3, the last cold beverage is a sacred relic, to be savoured and mourned when gone. Hours on the road demand a carefully curated soundtrack, but musical tastes can clash like a rusty bull bar hitting a kangaroo. The unwritten rule is compromise, a healthy rotation of everyone's questionable choices. The driver gets veto power, within reason, and under no circumstances are you allowed to play the same CD on repeat the entire trip. That's grounds for immediate ejection, when safe to do so of course. Snacks. They're a road trip essential, but with great power comes great responsibility. The first sin is the last chip heist, grabbing the last chip from a shared bag without asking. That's a one-way ticket to the doghouse. The second sin, the messy eater. No crumbly snacks that end up all over the car. If you can't eat it cleanly, it doesn't belong in the car. It's a road trip, not a bird feeder. The third sin, the hoarder. If you got a stash of lollies, you better be sharing them. This is a democracy, not a monarchy. Road trip naps are a delicate art. The driver is the one carrying the team, so they have to stay awake. The passengers, however, have to find a way to fall asleep. This is where the nap compromise comes in. The passenger gets to sleep, but the driver gets to choose the music. The passenger must also deal with the inevitable chin drop, where their head falls forward and they have to snap their head back up. The ultimate sin? Snoring. That's grounds for a drive-by with a water bottle spray. This is a high-stakes road trip maneuver. You're stuck behind a slow-moving caravan, and you know you have to pass it. There are specific unspoken rules for this. The first rule is to wait for a passing lane, not a blind corner. The second is to flash your lights once you pass them to let the driver of the caravan know they're safe to merge back in. The third is to feel the sense of triumph once you've passed it, even though it took you 10 minutes. This is a classic road trip move. You're all in the car and someone yells out, "Servo!" This is a cue for everyone to start looking at the nearest servo. This is an unofficial race to see who can spot the servo first. The winner gets to choose the snacks, while the other loser has to pay. The rules are simple. The first person to yell servo wins. The second is not to yell servo if you can't see one. The third is always be prepared for a fight over who gets to choose the snacks. This is an unspoken rule of road trips. You're on a long stretch of road, your car breaks down. The first rule is not to panic. The second rule is to call for help. The third is to stand outside the car looking miserable to get someone to stop and help you. This is the unspoken code of conduct. The fourth is to not look too miserable, or people will think you're a serial killer. The fifth is to always have a backup plan, like a spare tyre or a jerry can of fuel. This is a classic road trip move. You're on a long stretch of road and you see a pub. The unwritten rules are not to get too drunk, to not get into that fight with the locals, and to always buy the designated driver a drink. The second is not to leave the pub without a pie, even if you're not hungry. The third is not to talk about the road trip with the locals, because they've heard it all before. This is an unspoken rule of road trips. You're on a long stretch of road, and it's getting dark. The unwritten rules are not to drive too fast, to not blind the other drivers with your high beams, and to not hit a kangaroo. The second is to not swerve for an animal, because you'll most likely cause an accident. Now this is an unspoken rule of road trips, especially in the country. You're on a long stretch of dirt road, and an oncoming car is headed towards you. The unwritten rules are to slow down, to avoid kicking rocks up, but not to blind the other drivers with your dust, and to not try and overtake in a cloud of dust. This second is to always pull over to the side of the road to let faster cars past, and not to get too mad if you don't do the same for you. Now, this is an unspoken rule of road trips. You're on a long stretch of road and you see a speed camera. The unwritten rules are to flash your lights to warn the other drivers, to not flash your lights if you're not going too slow down, and to not get mad if they don't do the same for you, and to not talk about how you're bullbars for hitting kangaroos, because that's what everyone else thinks. So there you have it, the essential unwritten rules of surviving and maybe even enjoying an Australian road trip. Remember these and you'll navigate the highways and byways like a seasoned pro. Ignore them and you might find yourself stranded on the side of the road, covered in flies, with nothing but a lukewarm servo pie and the crushing weight of social disapproval. Now get out there, hit the road. You may enjoy the journey filled with adventure and adequate chilled beverages.